Raghu Markus is the founder of the Mind Rolling podcast, and he is also the executive director of the Love Serve Remember Foundation. He's a very close and personal friend with the world-renowned spiritual teacher Ram Dass, and in this interview we have a beautiful discussion about what it was like to be so close to a highly revered spiritual teacher like Ram Dass. So if you would like to see more interviews like this one, then click the link right below me now to subscribe to Meditation Magazine.
All right, the best way here, I'll give you an example because I don't want to make it too much part of mind stuff. One day last year, I was staying with him, and it was morning time, and he hadn't come downstairs for breakfast. I had a lot of stuff in my head about whatever I was producing with him, whether it be a retreat, whatever I was doing. So I had a bunch of things. I got to talk to Ram Dass. I got to get it. We got to get this straight now. We got all the meetings of this. I got to do film guys coming out, whatever. So I ran upstairs because I needed to do it right away. And I go in, and he's in his bathroom, and he was like shaving. He looked up at me, coming in, with all that energy. And he just carefully put the razor down on the counter, on the sink. And he just encountered me with his eyes, the way he first did when I met him the very first time. And everything in my head went away. Okay, all the stuff that I was wanting to produce with him, gone. And I was just inhabiting that moment with him. I mean, fortunately, I've enough sense to let go, as soon as I saw him, and we just let go into this space for a few minutes, a couple of minutes. And it was total loving presence, as he used to call it. We burrowed into the moment. Simple as that. And he had that ability to do that because he was just less caught, less attached to thoughts, less, less concerned about his concern was presence, not about, mental gyrations that we all have and we think are real important and we chase. His concern was presence, not the mental gyrations.
Well, and a lot of people living in this society, we have to work, we have to do things to make things happen. In that moment, how did that work out for the thing you were producing? Were you able to end up making it work, or did you have to just kind of forget about it?
No, we don't forget. We're living in the world, and no forgetting nothing. Whatever, I made it happen. However, it just didn't need to happen in that moment, and I let go of it. So later on, whatever, I probably talked to him, and we got straight about what we needed to do. It's just an example of how present he was to just be, in loving awareness moment.
Yeah,
at a drop of a hat.
That's beautiful. And did he go in and out of that over the course of his life? Like, was he sometimes very intensely in that moment and sometimes getting into the drama?
I mean, he was more, he spent more time in that moment. And it's also a result of him not being able to go travel around the country and lecture and drive his thing, go play golf. Listen, in the grand scheme of things, it's not like nature gave him a stroke. Maharaji gave him a way to deal with it and to use it profitably to become more of who he was.
Yeah. I guess what I'm asking is because, I guess anybody who meditates or is on that path, they have these moments of intense presence. And then also, I mean, for myself, I can speak for myself, moments of intense presence during meditation and sometimes during just daily life. And then sometimes moments of anxiety or getting too into the mental gyrations, like what you were saying.
Mm.
So I guess what makes me what I'm curious about is, was Ram Dass sort of always living in that presence, or did he also have those moments of anxiety or mental gyration? And I'm sure when he was younger, obviously, as Richard Alpert, he probably mostly spent a lot of that time in the thought processes, and then as time went on, he probably evolved. And then after the stroke, he probably spent more of the time, like you were saying, in the presence.
Mm-hmm.
But was there ever a period where he was just always in the presence, or was it for his whole life, as far as you knew him, sort of going from one state to the other?
No one's always in the presence except a being like Neem Karoli Baba.
Mm.
So yeah, he spent more time in it, Ram Dass, in the latter part of his life when he was these last 15 years on Maui.
Mm.
He certainly did. And it's not like he didn't spend time in that presence, before that. But certainly at this last part of his life, he was, he spent a bunch of time just being in that presence, for sure. I'd walk upstairs, he'd be in his chair looking at the ocean, just be here. He was be here now. Without the aphorism is like, oh yeah, everybody in the be here now. It's like Coke, Pepsi or something, right?
Yeah.
But he lived it.
Yeah. And I mean, was the stroke a very big turning point for him to be much more in the presence than before that?
Yep, absolutely. Not right away. It took time, for him to, recover enough, and surrender. And, like he said, I wrote a book, how can I help? Now I need a book, how can you help me? And he had to deal with that. That was his mental gyration. He had to deal with that.
Yeah.
So he did.
Yeah, I remember, he had a documentary come out a few years back. Maybe you were involved in that, where he was saying during the stroke, where he was
Fierce Grace.
Yeah, Fierce Grace, when he
Yeah,
was
no, that was Mickey Lemley, a great movie.
Yeah, and that he felt that he had been ready for it. He had been ready for death, and then when he had been stroked, that he realized that he wasn't ready, and he felt that he failed the test.
Yeah.
And so that was, sort of the last film that I saw of him. Do you feel like he moved past that over the years to like feel?
Yeah, absolutely. He was not afraid of dying.
And
looking for. Have you seen Becoming Nobody?
I haven't seen that one yet.
Okay, that you aside from this
Yeah.
lovely interview we're having,
Mhm.
watch Becoming Nobody. Okay, you either buy the download or do, right now it's not streaming yet.
Mhm.
But that is essential, because in it, not only do we use all of the great footage we have of Ram Dass teaching, and it has a whole thread from becoming somebody to becoming nobody. It's also his core teachings, and all the way through it is an interview that was done by the director Jamie Caro, that is contemporary Ram Dass. It's a few years ago at this point. And it's a beautiful counterpoint to what you're talking about now. What was Ram Dass like before and after the stroke? So watch that, because that will give you completely, you and whoever else is listening or reading this, context for Ram Dass before stroke and after stroke, in terms of the core teachings that he represents.